Erin, I wonder if you can just tell me a little bit about your current approach to reading comprehensions. What do you do? Where would you start? Let's say, for example, let's take this reading comprehension here. What would you look at first? Kind of what would be your process? How would you begin?
First, I would look at like the little information blurb that's given
Mm-hmm.
before like the actual like questions or like the full-on information. Just like the little like explanation in the beginning of like overall what's happening.
Okay, very good. The blurb is quite important, and I'm very glad that you've brought that up. Sometimes students will skip over the blurb.
Yes.
It looks almost in appearance like an instruction or a direction, and we know that, kind of you would be familiar with the tests, so you wouldn't spend too much time reading directions or instructions.
Yeah.
So it seems, because it's italicized and because the font is smaller, it might seem, if we look at this example here, it would be very easy to rush over and not
Yeah.
notice that. But that would be a mistake.
Yeah, you should read it.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree with you. And for example, on a typical SAT test where you have your 5 texts, your 5 reading comprehensions, you might find that in at least 1 out of the 5, the blurb is actually quite important. It might even lead you to the main idea of the passage, and there would be a question on that. So,
Or like the background information.
perfect. That's very good. So it's interesting to see all the information that you have already. And that's part of what we do when we're working on a reading comprehension, or indeed any process here at IvyWise. We really as well build on your strengths. We do a thorough evaluation of where you are right now. And then we know, kind of not just where to correct, but also the basis upon which we can build. So you take a look at the blurb. That would be the first thing that you would do, and then tell me what you do next. What's your next stage in your process?
Then I look at the information given. Like if it's a story, then I'll look at that. Or if it's like math, like I'll look at the equation.
I see.
Look it over.
Okay, and in the reading comprehension specifically, what would you look at first in the reading comprehension?
I would look at the questions and then go back and read it so I know what I'm looking for in like smaller like paragraphs.
Okay, very good. And that is key. Sometimes students are tempted when they look at a passage, and it's quite a normal tendency. You think, I'm being examined on this passage, I should start reading, I should really, find the information. But of course the problem is that you have quite a limited amount of time to be working with. So you need to look at the questions first, and there are a number of reasons which I'll explain why looking at the questions first is important. The first one is to know what you're looking for. So you look at the questions first so that your mind is prepared, so that you can look through the paragraphs and you can start to spot, you can start to see instinctively and without too much extra effort what you need to be looking for. You'll be pre-programmed to find the answers for the questions if you read the questions first.
Yeah, and it saves like time, because then if you like read it, then look at the questions, then have to read it again to find them, that wastes time. Like you can just read the question and look at it while you read for it.
Yes, that's true. And you point out something that's very important. It's what I call zigzagging. You don't want to be going from the question to the text, then back to the question, then kind of wondering to yourself what's going on, and then having to go back to the text again.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting time, and you're also disturbing your concentration. You're messing with your concentration there, which is, we only have limited resources of time to work on the reading comprehension. We also have limited focus and attention that we can give it. I mean, you have to realize as well too that it's not the passage when you're reading it on the real exam. It's not under ideal conditions. You're not sitting at home nice and comfortably, told your little brother to, kind of turn off the stereo and kind of have everything kind of ideal and peachy the way you would like to have it. So you need to be prepared for a real exam conditions, and you need to be able to hyper focus and to focus on just the information that you need. You need definitely to be able to extract to zoom in on the information that's important. So reading the questions first helps you to do that. And also as well too, it avoids flipping back and forth. If you read the passage first, then you're going to read the questions, then you're going to reread the passage, and that
and then it gets confusing.
Oh, definitely. Confusing is the right word that you use there. So let's move on and talk about, after you've read the questions, you've read the reading comprehension passage, what might you do next?
Well, I usually like highlight stuff when I find the information. So, or like I write like notes on the side, like explaining what happened so I remembered.
Excellent.
Like perfectly.
Excellent. Afterwards, when you're looking at the questions of the reading comprehension, what do you do? Do you start looking at the answer choices?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be kind of what you'd be naturally be inclined to do.
Yeah.
And that would be something where I'm going to advise you to do something quite different, which might be counterintuitive.
Okay.
So when you look at you've looked at the questions, you've read the passage, you've done your annotation. When you come back to the questions, don't look at the answer choices. In fact, cover the answer choices with your hand so that you don't see the answer choices. Look at the question, think very carefully, and try and come up with your own answer.
Okay. That sounds good.
That is and doesn't it sound a little bit counterintuitive, a little bit back to front? It's the way that you might not normally do it. So you try and come up with your own answer, and there are a number of reasons why you try and come up with your own answer. The main one being that the answer choices contain what we call distractors. So these distractors are designed to seem right, to seem authentic, to seem correct. However, most of them are designed to look correct but not actually be correct. So you have to be very careful, and you have to not pay any attention, at least initially, towards the answer choices. Try and come up with your own answer choice. And then once you've come up with your own answer choice, then you can remove your hand, then you can look at the answer choices and maybe see which one might correspond to the question or to the answer that you came up with initially. And if you do that, that's a way of double checking. It's a way of eliminating the distraction. You haven't been confused by the answer choices. You've really thought through, you've read the question very concretely in great detail, and then you look at the answer choices, and having done all of the steps in the process, that helps you identify which of the answer choices is correct. Now, on the SAT reading comprehension, there are a number of different types of answer choices. There are going to be some that obviously seem to be wrong. So there'll be one that'll just stand out.
Silly.
That'll just be silly. Yes, you put it very well. That's actually quite silly. That's very extreme sometimes, or that perhaps doesn't even apply to the text at all.
Like it's not related.
It's not really there at all. It's not related. It's perhaps completely off topic. So you would look at that, and for example, we see in this choice here, you can notice that answer choice D is just it's off. There's something that's just wrong about it. There's no way that it could possibly be right. We take a look then we do what we call process of elimination. Instead of looking for the right answer, very often it's more efficient to get rid of the wrong answers. So for example, we have our very obvious candidate, D, that is completely wrong.
So you cross it out? You
cross it out. And actually the act of crossing it out is very important. Sometimes if you just mentally think to yourself that one is wrong, you make a note, but you don't cross it out, you might get confused, you're under exam pressure, you're not in ideal conditions, you're not at home.
You need to see it visually.
You need to see it visually. Yes, you need that reminder. You need to be able to focus and to know that it's wrong. So you strike through those that are obviously wrong. Once you've done that, you've got one of the answer choices that is obviously wrong. You have three that are remaining. You'll probably be able to compare those answer choices to the answer that you instinctively came up with at the beginning. You'll maybe be able to eliminate one more. So now you've got, of the four answer choices, you've got the one that is, you've got 2 out of 4, precisely. You've got 2 out of 4 that have been eliminated, the one that's absolutely, definitely wrong. the one that you know is you're pretty certain that it's wrong, and now you've come down to 2 that are possibilities. So if you follow the steps that I'm outlining here, you'll find that your anxiety about reading comprehension will go down dramatically.
Yeah.
It'll become a much more precise and mathematical process. So best of luck, and thank you so much for your patience and your hard work, and I think you'll do fine.
Thank
You'll do
you.
great.